Hey guys, welcome to the 5th lesson of Blockstack plus React. On the previous lesson, we were doing the login functionality, but we came upon an error regarding authentication request. For this lesson, we're going to resolve that issue, as well as refactor the login functionality and create the logic for the logout functionality. Let's continue. So the error we're getting regarding the authentication is related to a CORS request, also known as a cross-origin request. I'm going to be reading directly from the slides, and you can follow along with me. You get this message because when you authenticate, your dApp at one URL requested a resource, an identity from another dApp, the Blockstack browser. A request for a resource outside of the origin, your new website, is called as a cross-origin request, CORS. Getting data in this matter can be risky, so you must configure your website security to allow interactions across origins. Credit Blockstack. You can think of CORS interactions as an apartment building with security. For example, if you need to borrow a ladder, you could ask a neighbor in your building who has one. Security would not likely have a problem with this request, i.e. same origin, your building. If you needed a particular tool, however, and you ordered it delivered from an online hardware store, i.e. cross-origin, another site, security may request identification before allowing the delivery man into the apartment building. Credit Code Academy. In other words, when we click in that login button and it opens that Blockstack browser, we're making a cross-origin request, and we must configure it in a way that it allows this interaction between the Blockstack browser and our current application to work together. How would we resolve this problem? Let's go to the next slide. Let me introduce you to React App Rewired. What it does is it gives you the ability to override create React app web config settings without ejecting. This is necessary for making CORS requests. Let's open up the GitHub. And if you scroll down a little bit, as you can see that it's not fully being maintained by the owner, but it is being community driven. So just as an FYI, but what this will provide us is the ability to allow CORS requests through our configurations. So if you scroll down here, and then there will be the section called npm install React App Rewired. Now let's go to our terminal. I'm gonna shut down my local server and paste the command that we copied from the React App Rewired GitHub repo. And I'm going to let this sit and get back to you once the installation is complete. Once the installation is complete, we're going to create a new file called config overrides.js, and what I'm going to be doing is copying and pasting some code. I'm not going to go into too much detail on what it's doing, but basically what this will allow is CORS requests between our current application and the Blockstack browser. And one more thing we have to do is go into our package.json and modify our scripts. So I'm going to copy and paste that as well. And what this allows us to do is hijack the original script builds and include our React App Rewired configurations. Some last bit of plumbing we need to do before we run the application is to handle when the user is pending sign-in. And we need to handle this because when the user signs in, it reloads as a new page. So we need to do component did mount here. And in the component did mount, we're going to make it an asynchronous request since the user session functions are asynchronous by nature. And inside of the asynchronous request, we're going to destructure the user session again. And then we're going to check if the user session dot is user signed in and user session dot is sign in pending. Then we're gonna get the user data. Wait, user session dot handle pending sign in. And then if the user data does not exist, or if the user data does not have a username, then we're gonna throw a new error saying that this app requires a username. Otherwise, we're gonna change the window.location to the original root URL. So what this is doing is basically checking to see if first, are you signed in? And if you're not signed in, is your sign in pending? And if it is pending, then we're gonna await for the user to complete the login process and change the URL back to its original root URL. Now, with this configuration all set up, let's run the server from the terminal. In the terminal, we're gonna run npm run start, and we're gonna see what the browser looks like from here. It seems like we have a slight error in the is sign in pending, and there might be some wording issues in the function's name, so I'm going to go back to the code. And it looks like I spelled the is sign in pending incorrectly, so if you can change it to is sign in pending, what it was previously before was is sign pending. And I reload the page, and I click sign in. It opens up the Blockstack browser, and when we click sign in, cool, awesome. Now you can see that the button changed back to the sign out, and now when I click sign out, it should just be giving me back the console log that we previously created from before. Now let's handle the sign out process. To sign out a user, we just need to use the user session sign out function. So what we're first gonna do is remove this console log, destructure the user session, and then call the user session sign out function. So it'll be user session dot sign user out, and then we're going to change the window dot location back to its original root, and what this will do is more or less refresh the page. Let's go back to the browser and see if it works. In the browser, there's the sign out button, and when I click on the sign out button, it should change this back to sign in, and when I click the sign in, it opens up the Blockstack browser again, referring to my Blockstack ID, and then it gives me the option to sign out. Although this app is currently working in terms of signing in and signing out a user, there's a bit of logic that currently exists in the app.js component. This is a code smell to me that I need to separate some of this logic out into smaller isolated components. For the next lesson, I'm going to refactor some of this code and create a login component, and the next lesson after that, I'm going to create a logout component. I hope you're enjoying these lessons so far, and really excited to work on this refactoring with you. See you then.